Eddie Olczyk, NBC Sports, NHL, and horse racing analyst. And Eddie joins us. Game 5 coming up tonight. The Cup will be in the house. Eddie, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dan. Nice to be with you. Hope you're well.
Who would be the LeBron James of the NHL with, and maybe it's, Sid the Kid, but where you get all of this criticism that goes along with the greatness. Ovechkin doesn't fall into that category, does he?
What's that? Who's that? I'm sorry?
Ovechkin doesn't fit in.
Yeah, I think he's always been an easy target for people, Dan, that being Ovechkin, A, because he's not from North America, and B, I think early in his career he was thinking about one thing, and that was the offensive side of the puck. But over the course of the last 5+ years, I mean, he has become a much better two-way player. He's always had the same reaction. That's the one thing I love about him most, is that you don't know if he scores or one of his teammates scores. He has the same reaction, and you can't say that about a lot of athletes in general. So I'm just been super impressed the way that he has matured and understood how to play, and has had a couple of great years but haven't been able to get it done. But I would say that Sidney Crosby is easily the guy that I would compare to when it comes to, the NBA, and a guy like LeBron James when it comes to scrutinizing, every single thing, and why didn't he do this and why didn't he do that. And, hey, you know what? When you're the best, the critics are going to be after you day in and day out.
What's that feeling like when you hear the Cup is in the house?
Well, it meant a lot when I was a player in New York in '94, when we knew it was in the building for a Game 5 at Madison Square Garden in 1994 against the Vancouver Canucks. And, unfortunately for us, we got off to a rough start in Game 5, came back, tied it up, and next thing you know, Vancouver wins the game. Then we got to fly all, it felt like across the world to Vancouver for Game 6, and we played our worst game of the year. And I think the one thing that helped us in '94, Dan, was we had an extra day in between for travel, so we had 2 extra days to kind of get ourselves back on track for a Game 7 back at the Garden. So when the Cup is in the building as a player, it's hard not to, and again, being on the side that had a chance to win it, it is a feeling like no other, because you're so close, you can taste it, you can feel it, you want to touch it, you want to grab it, but you got a long ways to go, even though it's a 60-minute or 60-plus minute hockey game. As a broadcaster, it always get chills when I see them shining it up and getting ready to be presented in the building. So it's to me, it's the greatest trophy in all of professional sports, and it's just a feeling you can't describe as far as a player, but as a broadcaster, still gets very emotional when you have the Stanley Cup in the building.
What would be a bigger surprise, a bigger upset, the Capitals losing or Justify losing?
Are you saying tonight or the series?
The series.
I might have to run down to the Race and Sportsbook and see if I can get that wager in before the game tonight, Dan. We are in Las Vegas, and everything seems to be legal. So
yeah.
I would say probably the bigger surprise for me would be, and this is hard for me to say, would probably be the Capitals losing this series than Justify on Saturday.
But it's close.
Yeah, very, very close. I would say it's probably by I was going to say a nose, but I'll say a horse's back end. How's that?
All right. How can I make money this weekend on the Belmont?
Well, I think you got to get a little creative, because I don't think anybody's beaten Justify on Saturday, Dan. I just think that the 1.5-mile race, and as far as my experience of handicapping and playing the horses for a long, long time, is that these distance races, these 1.5-mile races, really become a half-mile journey. The first mile is to kind of gallop along and get position, and Justify will do just that with Mike Smith as his pilot, breaking from post position 1, and then the last half mile is where history will be made. And I don't think that there's anybody that can run with them. I think the extra week will do Bob Baffert and Justify a world of good. So to me, you got to look at the exotics. You got to look at the exactas. You got to look at the trifectas. And so I'm looking at, Justify the 1 horse and Hofburg the 4 horse. And I'm going to play all kinds of gimmick with the 1 winning and the 4 finishing second and third. And hopefully you get a long shot to finish in third or second and split Hofburg and Justify. But I think there is going to be value. And look, talking to a lot of people, Dan, since the Preakness, I think a lot of people have jumped off the bandwagon of Justify. I think they feel that he's vulnerable.
Wow.
They feel like maybe if that last race, Bravazza was going to go by him, the horse that finished second at the Preakness. I'm not one of them. I think Mike Smith knew exactly what he was doing the last 70 yards when he put Good Magic away. So for me, you might look at what's wrong with making 90 cents on a dollar. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with that. People try to do that every day in the real world and down in Wall Street. So for me, if you can get 3 to 5 or 4 to 5 on Justify, I think that might be a heck of a wager.
I saw this tweet by Darren Ravel from ESPN. The amount of money that goes uncashed when it comes to betting on, like if Justify wins the Triple Crown, there's going to be probably a couple $100,000 that goes uncashed because they want to keep their ticket. Has anybody ever done a story on just how much money has, just left there? And how long do I have before I can cash in that ticket? What's the time frame?
Yeah, it's 1 year usually at most racetracks in most states for cashing tickets. So you got 1 year to be able to do that as far as the horse racing part of it. And look, I mean, there are lots of stories where people, not just, they don't cash it on purpose, but there are a lot of people that may ask for a certain wager when they go to the window, and they get another one, and they think that, then I lost, and then they just, the exact number I couldn't tell you, but I mean, there are millions and millions of dollars every year of uncashed horse racing wagers that people, that don't realize or don't understand the type of bet that they made, or they asked for something specific and they thought it was different. But as far as the people just wanting to have that $100 win bet on Justified, that the day he wins the Triple Crown, or American Pharoah a couple of years ago, you're right. I mean, I could easily see that in that $300,000-$400,000 range for sure, without question.
Eddie, have fun tonight. We'll be watching. Tell Doc we said hello, and Pierre, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. Have a great day. Thanks.
Eddie Olczyk, NBC Sports, NHL, and also horse racing analyst.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.